Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless in the darkness of Observatory 7, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that filled the chamber. Around her, quantum processors hummed softly as they processed data from thousands of deep space sensors scattered throughout the solar system. A sea of stars stretched before her, each point of light representing not just distant suns, but potential threats to humanity's existence. 30 years of silence, 3 decades of watching, waiting, and preparing. The weight of that knowledge pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. "Dr. Chen," a calm voice called from behind her. "The Lysarian signals are getting stronger." Sarah turned to face Marcus Wong, her lead communications analyst. The young man's usually cheerful face was drawn with concern as he manipulated the holographic controls. The chamber filled with a new set of data streams, encrypted transmissions from a civilization 50 light-years from Earth. "Show me the pattern analysis," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the tension building in her chest. The display shifted, revealing communication patterns that made her blood run cold. She'd seen this before, 17 times in the past 3 decades. The Concordat was moving in for another conquest. "Alert Director Harrison," she ordered. "Tell him it's happening again." As Marcus hurried away, Sarah's mind drifted back to that fateful day 30 years ago, when humanity first detected the Concordat's presence. She'd been a graduate student then, working on her thesis in xenorchaeology. The discovery had changed everything. The massive doors to Observatory 7 slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Director James Harrison strode in, his dark skin contrasting sharply with his silver hair. Despite the late hour, his uniform was immaculate. "Show me," he said simply. Sarah gestured, and a holographic display expanded to fill the chamber. "The Lysarians," she began, "a peaceful species, just beginning to explore their local space. They've established colonies on 3 nearby worlds, developed clean fusion technology, and recently sent their first probes beyond their solar system. And now the Concordat has noticed them," Harrison finished, his expression grim. "Yes." Sarah manipulated the display, highlighting a series of energy signatures. "Concordat warships, moving into position around the outer edges of Lysarian space. The same pattern we've seen before. They'll offer protection and technological advancement in exchange for resources and labor." "Slavery," Harrison corrected sharply. "Let's call it what it is." Sarah nodded. They'd watched this scenario play out too many times. The Concordat would appear with their massive ships and advanced technology, promising partnership and progress. Then would come the demands, the military occupation, and finally the systematic exploitation of both resources and people. "Status of Project Nightfall?" Harrison asked, his eyes still fixed on the display. Sarah brought up a new set of data. "The quantum phase disruptors are ready. Admiral Wong reports that all 30 vessels are fully operational. We can deploy within 72 hours. Harrison was silent for a long moment, studying the data streams that showed the Concordat ships moving into position around Lysarian space. 30 years, he said quietly. "We've spent 30 years hiding in the shadows, building our strength, developing technologies the Concordat can't even imagine. Every time we watched them destroy another civilization, we told ourselves not yet. We told ourselves we needed more time, more preparation." He turned to face Sarah, his eyes hard. "How many species have we watched fall while we waited?" 17, Sarah answered immediately. The number haunted her dreams. "And how many millions enslaved?" "Too many." Sarah's fingers clenched into fists. "But we're ready now. The quantum phase technology works. Our ships can move through space without generating ripples in the quantum field. We're completely invisible to their sensors. The disruptors can shut down their technology without causing casualties." Harrison nodded slowly. "Humanity has hidden long enough. We've watched enough atrocities." He straightened, his decision made. "Contact the Security Council. Tell them I'm recommending immediate implementation of Operation Nightfall." Sarah felt her heart rate accelerate. The Council will want your full assessment. They'll have it within the hour. Harrison's voice was firm. The Concordat believes they're alone out here, that no one can challenge their power. They think they can prey on peaceful species without consequences. A cold smile crossed his face. It's time they learned how wrong they are. As Harrison strode from the chamber, Sarah turned back to the holographic display. Somewhere out there, the Lizarians were going about their lives, unaware of the danger approaching their worlds. They didn't know that humanity had been watching from the shadows for 3 decades, building their strength, developing technologies that would seem like magic to most species. They didn't know that their darkest hour would become humanity's moment to step into the light. "Send word to all observation posts," she commanded. "Operation Nightfall is commencing. 30 years of silence ends now." The quantum processors hummed louder as they began transmitting encrypted messages to Earth's hidden watchers throughout the galaxy. In 72 hours, humanity would reveal itself to the cosmos, and the Concordat would learn that their greatest nightmare had been quietly growing stronger right under their sensors. Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile. The watch was ending. The time for action had come. The Security Council chamber, buried deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, hummed with tension. 50 of humanity's leaders sat in tiered rows, their faces illuminated by the massive holographic display dominating the center of the room. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before them, her voice steady as she presented the evidence. "The Concordat vessels have begun their approach to Lizarian space," she reported, manipulating the display to show the movement of enemy ships. "Their initial contact will follow their standard pattern, a show of overwhelming force disguised as a peaceful delegation." Admiral Maya Patel, commander of Earth's hidden fleet, leaned forward in her seat. Her dark eyes reflected the holographic light as she studied the tactical display. "How long until they make contact?" 48 hours, Sarah answered. "They're positioning their ships to cut off any potential escape routes. The Lizarians won't even know they're trapped until it's too late." The room fell silent as Sarah brought up new images. The Lizarians were a striking species, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Their cities were marvels of organic architecture, buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like crystalline trees. "This is what they stand to lose," Sarah continued, her voice tight with controlled anger. 3 worlds, 12 billion souls, a civilization that has never known war, that has devoted itself to art, science, and peaceful exploration. And the Concordat will destroy it all. Director Harrison added from his seat in the front row. "Just as they've destroyed 17 other species we've watched fall." Council President Elena Rodriguez stood, her aged face stern. "We've reviewed Operation Nightfall's specifications. Admiral Patel, are you confident in your fleet's capabilities?" Maya Patel rose, her bearing military precise despite her civilian clothes. "Absolutely, Madam President. The quantum phase technology has been tested extensively. Our ships can move undetected through Concordat space. The disruptors will neutralize their technology without causing casualties. We can shut down their entire communication network in a synchronized strike." "And what then?" Counselor Zhang asked. "Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. Earth will be exposed." "Earth has been exposed since the day we first detected their signals," Harrison countered. "We've spent 30 years preparing for this moment. Our technology now surpasses theirs in ways they cannot imagine. The only question is, do we act now or watch another civilization fall?" Sarah manipulated the display again, showing the Concordat's empire, 10,000 worlds connected by faster-than-light communications, all built on the exploitation of lesser species. "Their greatest weakness is their arrogance," she explained. "They believe their technology is unbeatable because they've never encountered a real challenge. They don't know that we've been studying them, learning their weaknesses, developing countermeasures to every weapon in their arsenal." The display shifted to show Earth's hidden fleet. 30 ships, each 5 kilometers long, their black hulls designed to absorb both energy and attention. They were invisible to standard sensors, undetectable even when moving at full speed. Within their quantum-shielded halls, technologies had been perfected that the Concordat had dismissed as impossible. "Show them," Harrison commanded softly. Sarah nodded and activated the final simulation. The display showed a Concordat warship, its shields at full power. A barely visible ripple passed through space. The quantum phase disruptor in action. The warship's systems simply stopped, its shields collapsing, its weapons powerless. No explosion, no destruction, just the sudden silence of dead technology. "We can do this across their entire empire," Admiral Patel explained. "A synchronized strike at their communication hubs. We cut them off from each other, isolate their fleets, free their slave worlds, all without a single casualty." President Rodriguez looked around the chamber, meeting each council member's eyes. "We have watched for 30 years. We have prepared, built our strength, developed weapons that can defeat them without destruction. Now we must decide. Do we act?" The vote was unanimous. "Very well." Rodriguez's voice carried the weight of history. "Operation Nightfall is authorized. Admiral Patel, you have command. Director Harrison, coordinate with all observation posts. Dr. Chen, you'll serve as tactical advisor aboard the flagship." Sarah felt her heart race as the council chamber erupted into activity. After decades of watching, of collecting data, of developing technologies in secret, they were finally going to act. "Dr. Chen," Admiral Patel called, "walk with me." As they left the chamber, Sarah could feel the mountain facility coming alive around them. Emergency protocols were being activated, hidden forces mobilized, plans set in motion that had been decades in the making. "Are you ready for this?" Patel asked as they entered a secure elevator that would take them to the surface. "Once we reveal ourselves, everything changes. Humanity steps onto the galactic stage, and there's no going back." Sarah thought of all the civilizations they'd watched fall, all the billions enslaved while Earth waited and prepared. "We've been ready for 30 years, Admiral. The Concordat just doesn't know it yet." The elevator began its ascent, carrying them toward humanity's next great leap. In 48 hours, 10,000 worlds would go dark. And in that darkness, hope would rise for all the species the Concordat had thought they could enslave without consequences. Sarah Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The breaking point had finally arrived. The bridge of the ESS Artemis hummed with quiet efficiency as Admiral Maya Patel stood at the command station. Through the quantum-shielded viewing ports, the massive ship's sister vessels were barely visible, dark shapes against the darkness of space, gathering for humanity's first strike. "Final systems check," she ordered, her voice carrying across the bridge. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from her tactical station as status reports flowed in. The Artemis was a triumph of human engineering, 5 kilometers of advanced alloys and impossible technology. Even now, cloaked in quantum fields, they floated undetected at the edge of Lysarian space. "Quantum phase systems at full capacity," reported Commander Jack Torres, his hands dancing across holographic controls. "Disruptors charged and ready." "Multiple Concordat vessels detected," announced Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka from sensors. 12 capital ships approaching Lysarian Prime. Their weapons are powered but not charged. Sarah pulled up the tactical display, studying the Concordat formation. "Classic intimidation pattern," she noted. "They'll demand immediate surrender, promising protection and advancement." "Not this time." Maya's voice was steel. "Status of all fleet vessels. All 29 ships report ready, Admiral." Communications Officer David Okafor confirmed. "Awaiting your command." Maya turned to Sarah. "Dr. Chen, you've watched them longer than anyone. Any last-minute insights?" Sarah studied the display, 30 years of observation crystallizing into certainty. They've never faced real opposition. Their tactics are designed to overwhelm primitive species. They have no defense against what we're about to do. "Very well." Maya straightened, her uniform crisp in the blue light of the bridge displays. All ships, execute Phase 1. Silent running, quantum fields at maximum. Move into position. The Artemis glided forward, utterly invisible to Concordat sensors. Around them, the rest of Earth's fleet moved with practiced precision, each ship taking up predetermined positions around the Lysarian system. Concordat vessels entering weapons range of Lysarian defense platforms, Yuki reported. "Show me their communications," Maya ordered. A new hologram appeared, showing the Concordat's diplomatic message to the Lysarians. Sarah's fists clenched as she watched the familiar scene unfold. The false promises, the thinly veiled threats, the demand for immediate submission. "They're targeting Lysarian power stations," Jack reported. "Standard procedure. Show their capability by shutting down key infrastructure." "Not today." Maya's voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. "All ships, prepare quantum phase disruptors. Target their command and control systems only. Minimal collateral damage." Sarah watched the targeting solutions lock into place. Each Earth ship would hit multiple Concordat vessels simultaneously, using technology that had been theoretical when they first detected alien signals 30 years ago. "Admiral," David called out suddenly. "The Lysarians, they're refusing to surrender." Maya smiled grimly. "Brave, but they won't have to face this alone. All ships, execute Phase 2. On my mark." The bridge fell silent. Sarah thought of all the species they'd watched fall, all the civilizations stripped of their freedom, while Earth prepared in secret. No more watching. No more waiting. Mark. 30 quantum phase disruptors fired simultaneously. There was no visible beam, no dramatic explosion, just a ripple in space-time itself that passed through Concordat shields as if they didn't exist. "Direct hits on all targets," Jack reported, his voice tight with excitement. "Concordat vessels are going dark. Complete systems failure across their entire fleet." "Lysarian command is broadcasting confusion," David added. "They don't understand what's happening." "Open a channel," Maya ordered. "All frequencies, all languages we've decoded." She stood straight, her voice clear and strong as she delivered humanity's first message to the galaxy. "To all species under Concordat oppression, we are humanity. For 30 years we have watched from the shadows as the Concordat enslaved peaceful worlds. We have prepared, we have grown stronger, and we have developed weapons that render their technology useless. Today we step from the shadows. Today we say, no more." Sarah brought up the tactical display, showing similar scenes playing out across Concordat space. Earth's hidden fleet striking simultaneously at key military installations and communication hubs. 30 ships, 30 targets, 30 victories. Concordat reinforcements will be cut off, she reported. Their FTL communication network is going dark system by system. Good. Maya turned to her crew. Phase 3. Deploy the quantum buoys. Let's make sure they can't regroup. Sarah watched as small devices launched from the Artemis, spreading through the system. The buoys would maintain a quantum disruption field, preventing the Concordat from reactivating their technology or calling for help. "Multiple transmissions detected," David announced. "Other enslaved species are realizing what's happening. They're rising up." "As planned." Maya nodded. "When we studied the Concordat's empire, we knew their greatest weakness was their dependence on technological superiority. Take that away, and their entire power structure collapses," Sarah finished. The bridge crew watched as reports flooded in from across Concordat space. 30 years of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as liberators. "Admiral," Sarah said quietly, "the Lysarians are hailing us." Maya straightened her uniform. "Put them through. It's time to properly introduce ourselves to our galactic neighbors." As the communication channel opened, Sarah Chen allowed herself a moment of pride. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, watching and learning. Now they would show the galaxy that intelligence, patience, and determination could overcome any technological advantage. The real work was just beginning. A holographic display aboard the ESS Artemis showed a galaxy in transformation. Thousands of points of light winked out one by one as Earth's fleet systematically disabled the Concordat's communication network. Admiral Maya Patel watched with quiet satisfaction as 30 years of preparation yielded results beyond their highest expectations. "Status report," she commanded, her eyes never leaving the display. "Concordat resistance is minimal," Commander Torres responded. "Their weapons are useless against our quantum fields. 97% of targeted systems are now dark." Dr. Sarah Chen analyzed the incoming data streams. Liberation movements are springing up across formerly enslaved worlds. The Lizarians have already reclaimed control of their orbital stations. The Nexari have seized 3 Concordat processing centers. The Volari are. She paused, her eyes widening at new information. "Admiral, you need to see this." The main display shifted to show thousands of ships emerging from hidden locations across Concordat space, vessels belonging to species they'd thought completely subjugated. The supposedly enslaved races had been preparing too, waiting for an opportunity. They were ready, Sarah breathed. They just needed someone to break the Concordat's grip. Maya smiled. Oppressors always make the same mistake. They believe that compliance equals acceptance. They forget that hope survives. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," Lieutenant Okafor announced. "Priority 1. President Rodriguez's hologram appeared on the bridge, her expression both proud and concerned. "Admiral Patel, the Security Council has reviewed your initial reports. The operation's success exceeds our projections, but we face a new challenge. The power vacuum we've created could lead to chaos." "Understood, Madam President." Maya had anticipated this. "Permission to implement Phase 4. "Granted. Proceed with extreme caution. We're making history here, Admiral. Let's make sure it's the right kind." As the transmission ended, Maya turned to her crew. "All ships, prepare for Phase 4 implementation. Dr. Chen, you're with me in the briefing room. Commander Torres, you have the bridge." In the privacy of the briefing room, Maya activated the secure display. "Show me the Lizarian diplomatic channel." The hologram revealed the elegant form of First Speaker Kilara, the Lizarian leader who had defied the Concordat's demands. Their iridescent skin shimmered with emotion as they spoke. "Admiral Patel, my people owe humanity a debt we can never repay. But now we face uncertainty. The Concordat's fall leaves hundreds of worlds in crisis. Trade networks are disrupted. Planetary defense systems are failing. Some species are already calling for revenge against their former oppressors. Which is exactly why we prepared Phase 4, Maya replied. "First Speaker, humanity did not act alone today. We monitored, we prepared, but we also identified potential allies. Species like yours, with the wisdom to value peace but the strength to fight when necessary." Sarah understood suddenly. The Liberation Coalition. Maya nodded. "For 30 years, we didn't just watch the Concordat. We studied every species in their empire, identifying those who could help build something better from the ashes. First Speaker Kilara, humanity would like to propose an alliance." The Lizarian leader's bioluminescent patterns shifted with interest. "What kind of alliance?" "One based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation," Maya explained. "Earth has technology that can help stabilize critical systems across former Concordat space. The Lizarians have diplomatic expertise and cultural understanding. The Nexari excel at logistics. The Volari are master terraformers. Together, we can prevent chaos and build something new. A coalition of equals," Kilara mused, "not an empire of slaves." "Exactly." Maya's voice carried conviction. "Humanity's ships will remain in position, maintaining the quantum disruption fields until stability is restored. But we don't seek to rule. We seek to help build a galactic community where no species need fear enslavement." As first speaker Kilara considered the proposal, Sarah brought up new data. Similar conversations are happening across liberated space, she reported. The Nexari High Council is already mobilizing relief ships. Volari engineers are offering to help restore damaged ecosystems on formerly exploited worlds. And the Concordat worlds? Kilara asked. Will be offered the same opportunity to join the coalition, Maya answered firmly. As equals, not rulers. Their technology will be restored gradually as they demonstrate peaceful intentions. Many of their citizens never supported the Empire's actions. They deserve a chance at redemption. The Lysarian leader's colors rippled with decision. The Lysarian worlds accept your proposal, Admiral Patal. We would be honored to help build this new coalition. As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to Maya. You knew this would happen. The liberation movements, the hidden resistance, the potential for a new alliance, it was all part of the plan. Hope is contagious, Dr. Chen. Maya smiled. We gave them their moment, and they seized it. Now comes the hard part, building something that will last. Through the briefing room's viewport, Sarah watched as Lysarian ships began coordinating with Earth vessels, establishing safe corridors for relief supplies and diplomatic exchanges. 30 years of silence had ended not with a bang, but with the quiet dawn of a new era. The silent storm had passed. The real work of peace was beginning. 1 year after Operation Shadowfall, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Chamber of Assembly on Luna, Earth's moon. Through the vast crystal dome, the blue marble of Earth hung against the star-filled sky, a constant reminder of humanity's home as they stepped into a larger universe. Below her, representatives from over 200 formerly enslaved species filled the circular chamber. The Liberation Coalition's first official gathering was about to begin. The air hummed with translator fields as dozens of languages mixed freely, former enemies now working together toward a common future. Quite a change from Observatory 7. Director Harrison commented, joining her at the railing. He'd aged in the past year, the stress of managing Earth's emergence onto the galactic stage etched in new lines on his face. Sometimes I miss the quiet, Sarah admitted. Watching from the shadows was simpler. Simpler, yes, but not better. Harrison gestured to the gathering below. Look at what we helped create instead. Sarah watched as first speaker Kilara of the Lysarians conferred with delegates from former Concordat worlds. The Nexari trade ministers were deep in discussion with Volari environmental experts. Species that had been enemies for generations now worked together, rebuilding worlds and establishing new connections. Admiral Patel approached, her dress uniform adorned with the new insignia of the Coalition Defense Force. The Security Council is ready, she announced. It's time. Sarah followed them to the central podium as the chamber's lights dimmed. President Rodriguez stood at the center, her aged face serene as she surveyed the assembled delegates. 1 year ago, she began, her words automatically translated for all present. Humanity emerged from 3 decades of silence to help break the chains of empire. We did not act to conquer or control, but to free and protect. Today, we take the next step together. The massive holographic display activated, showing the Coalition's achievements over the past year. Restored ecosystems on stripped mining worlds. Freed slaves returning to rebuild their homelands. Former Concordat warships, their weapons replaced with scientific instruments, now exploring the galaxy peacefully. The quantum disruption fields are being deactivated system by system, Maya reported to the assembly. As each world demonstrates its commitment to peace, their technology is restored. Already, 80% of former Concordat space has rejoined the galactic community as equal partners. And those who resist, called out a delegate from a particularly damaged world, are contained, Maya assured them. Earth's fleet maintains watch over the few holdouts, but even there, change is coming. When people see a better way as possible, oppression becomes harder to maintain. Sarah stepped forward to present the scientific data. The Coalition's combined research initiatives, have already yielded breakthroughs that would have been impossible under the Concordat. By sharing knowledge freely, we advance together. The quantum phase technology that helped liberate you is now being adapted for medical uses, environmental restoration, and deep space exploration. As she spoke, Sarah remembered those long years of watching in silence, documenting atrocities they couldn't yet prevent. The guilt of waiting still haunted her, but the results justified their patience. They had built something better than revenge. The coalition is not an empire, President Rodriguez continued. Each member world maintains its sovereignty. We are bound not by force or fear, but by shared principles: mutual defense, free exchange of knowledge, protection of sentient rights, and preservation of each species' unique culture. The chamber erupted in approval, hundreds of species expressing support in their own ways. Light displays from the Lysarians, harmonic songs from the Volari, electromagnetic pulses from the silicon-based Nexari. A year ago, Sarah said softly to Harrison, "I would have said this was impossible." Former slaves and former masters, working together. "Hope is stronger than fear," Harrison replied. "We just had to give them the chance to prove it." As the formal ceremony concluded, Sarah watched the delegates mingling freely. Earth had hidden in the shadows for 30 years, watching and learning. When they finally stepped into the light, it wasn't as conquerors or saviors, but as partners in building something new. "Dr. Chen," Maya called. "The Nexari delegation has some interesting proposals for adapting quantum phase technology for their crystalline habitats. Care to join the discussion?" Sarah smiled, leaving her observation post to join the conversation below. The time for watching from the shadows was over. The galaxy was awakening to a new dawn, and humanity would help light the way forward. In Observatory 7, now a museum of first contact, the quantum processors still hummed softly, monitoring space. But they no longer watched for threats. Instead, they tracked the movements of coalition ships, the restoration of damaged worlds, the free exchange of peoples and ideas across the stars. The silent sentinel had completed its watch. The dawn of a new era had begun.